Hey friends, welcome to Battle Chasers. So this is a game that I checked out around about a year ago when it very first got announced. Well, the game has now been officially released, I've been playing it, and I've had a lot of fun with it, so I'm going to share it with you today. It's basically a turn-based JRPG, been massively westernized, if you could call that even a thing. But anyway, let's go over the combat. So the first combat system I want to explain is Overcharge. So you see this tiny little red bar here that's extending past the mana. This is basically free mana. So to fully understand this feature, you also need to know how big some of the dungeons are in this game. So there are huge dungeons. When you first start off, it's around about 20-30 minutes. Then towards the end of the game, they go as long as 2 hours. So when you're pacing your mana, it's a huge strategic element because you can blow through it straight away in 10 minutes. So it's a pretty simple system. You've got actions and abilities. Actions build up overcharge and abilities use overcharge and mana. I found this oddly satisfying in some weird way. It might just appeal to my own personality or my own theory about gaming and how I like to play games. It was really satisfying conserving all of my resources. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this system. So there's 6 characters in the game that you can play, but only 3 at a time. Now you will acquire 3 characters throughout the gameplay. You don't just get them in the first, 2 hours or so. In fact, kind of about halfway through, you'll get the last hero in the game. You can only choose 3 at a time. You kind of have to commit to the characters that you choose because they don't level up altogether. So it's a big commitment. When you find a new hero, you're like, oh, should I run this guy? You might test him out, play around and go, yeah, you know what, not so good. I might go back to a different hero. Actually really enjoyed having the ability to choose certain heroes in a game like this because it feels like an added feature that possibly could have gone without being in the game, but is included, and it feels good that it is. So let's go over some of the heroes really quickly. The roles are very reversed in terms of visuals compared to what they actually do. So I've got Colbretto here, the big robot. He's actually my healer. I've got Gully, which is the little green girl in the middle. She's my tank, and I've got Red Monica, who's my DPS hero. So I won't go over any of the other heroes because it's kind of a bit spoilerish, but these are the heroes that I ran through and completed the game with anyway. Now, the other system in the game that I really like is, in comparison to, say, ultimate abilities. In this game, they're called bursts. We unlock burst abilities throughout the game as well. They don't just come to you straight away. That's a progressive theme that I've seen throughout this game, and it's one of the reasons why I personally think that it kept my interest throughout the time, because you'd have these new combos, new burst abilities, and new things to try out consistently at a very smooth pace. So you can see the burst meter on the left-hand corner in the orange. Now, different burst abilities use different segments. It's broken into 3 segments. So you've got mediocre burst abilities, which you'll get towards the start of the game, which might use only 1/3, but towards the end you get these massive, huge ultimates, burst abilities that use up the whole thing in one go. Do have roles in certain circumstances. It's not like once you get to the 3rd tier, that's the only one you use. So to try and understand the game, there's 3 types of gameplay that you can engage in. We've got this overworld map, and this is where you're walking around, discovering new places, new dungeons, and all that kind of stuff. Once you do find a place or a new area that you want to explore, it goes into an ARPG kind of mode where you do have active abilities that you can use before even engaging in the combat. Now, they're very mediocre, low impact, just fun, quirky, interesting. For example, you can stun before you engage. You can heal your party members after a fight, that kind of stuff. Just low impact abilities, but pretty nice. So I want to touch on the pacing of this game. I would say during the first 10 hours of playing, it was a complete walkthrough. Very fun at the same time, but very easy. I don't think I died too many times, maybe once or twice. But towards the later end of the game, this did actually catch up. There was probably 2 or 3 instances where I went into a dungeon and it was just completely underleveled. So I actually had to go back and grind my way through and level up. This is classic JRPG. They're super grindy. This is a really light touch version of that. And if you're like me, you played Diablo all your life and Baldur's Gate and all these great games, it's nowhere near as grindy as that. It's kind of like, hey, you know, this dungeon's a little bit too high, or this boss is absolutely destroying me. I'm going to go spend 25 minutes leveling up in some other place. Pretty chilled out kind of grindiness, but it does exist. So the last thing I want to talk about with Battle Chasers is this really interesting concept. So in my head, this is the perfect example of a modern RPG towards a certain target of people. For example, it's not trying to compete with, you know, graphically with like The Witcher 3. Obviously, it's a completely different game, but this is something that you would actually see on a super new mobile game. So that's where that's coming from in my head, but by no means holds back the game at all, coming from someone who doesn't play mobile games ever. Previously, I've played similar games on the PC that have similar art styles. The best example would be Bastion or Transistor. Very similar games, and I love them. The thing about those games, they're actually quite short games. You know, you can complete them in 6 hours very comfortably. Battle Chasers took me, just finished it literally half an hour ago, and it took me 36 hours to complete. So even though they've got this easily approachable art style, by no means is this a fluffy jump in and jump out type of game. And this is actually reflected in the price point as well. So you could go ahead and buy, you know, Bastion and Transistor for about, say, you know, $10 US. A little bit cheaper if they're on special. This retails at around $25 on special to say $30 US. It is reflected in the gameplay. It is a large game. You could be tricked into assuming, looking at the trailer, that this might be a 10-15 minute game. In 36 hours, I was playing extremely leisurely. I really did explore pretty much everything that you possibly could in this game. A lot of fun. I recommend it wholeheartedly. I think this game has a lot of value. It's definitely worth checking out if you're looking for an RPG to sink your teeth into. Anyway, friends, hope you enjoyed this little review-arino of Battle Chasers. All right, see you later, friends.